So let's go to the first story of the day. So this one is on Reddit in our RPG horror stories by the user Apocryph7618. So the gist of it is the title is The Curse of Strahd, the game, the module of D&D. Is my GM an asshole here? So he says, long-time lurker, first-time caller. I'm a forever GM myself, and I lurk here because I'm terrified I will one day feature on here. We all make mistakes. Touch wood, it hasn't happened yet. I am, however, a player in a Curse of Strahd game, and something happened yesterday that doesn't sit right with me. It might belong here, it might not. Happy for the subreddit to judge. So consider this something of a is my GM an asshole question rather than here's a clearly very shitty thing that happened rant. Alright, so we're a 6th level party. The 2 PCs relevant to this is my character Magnus, a Goliath paladin, and Suka, a halfling ranger. We've been playing for about 9 months now, and we're roughly halfway through the campaign. I know this because this is probably the 6th time I've either played or run Curse of Strahd. So, not long after leaving Barovia for Valaki, we came across these 2 zombies, revenants, something undead anyway. They came at us and we killed them. Since then, pretty much every time we get back on the road, we encounter these same 2 chuckle elves, except each time they seem to be stronger. Last night we fought them for the 4th time, 5th, and Suka's players noticed that each time we fought them, they've mainly been focused on us too. I've never noticed because I'm the party tank. My job is to keep them engaged with me whilst protecting others from attack, using the sentinel feat and the interception fighting style to help with that. But after he pointed it out, it clicked. And in this particular encounter, it became super obvious. They attacked us too, specifically to the absolutely exclusion of everyone else and irrespective of what everyone else was doing. Slight problem with this encounter. I don't know what Strahd has been feeding these revenants, but they're now dealing 28 to 30 points of bludgeoning damage per hit with unarmed strikes.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
Hit KO,
And-
dude. I'm telling you.
And they both have multi-attack because of course they
Because
do.
of course they do.
They also had a massive amount of HP. Between smites, divine favors, the cleric spirit guardians, and everything else, they were taking a silly amount of damage themselves. But it didn't do a whole lot. And once we had to start resorting to healing ourselves, it was over. Retreat wasn't a viable option. We were carrying cargo from the Wizard of Wines up to Kresk. And these whites, or whatever they are, have a 50 feet move speed for some reason. It was also clear that they are relentless in their pursuit of us. We'd have to fight them at some point because ultimately we tire, they don't. Yeah, I don't actually know what these are. They, let's use the gender neutral term, they change what it is every single time.
I think it's the 2 guys that were fighting. I mean, couldn't be anything else. Right.
The 2 guys they were fighting? What do you mean?
That was fighting. That's why they used it.
The 2 guys that punch for 28 to 30 points of bludgeoning damage?
Yeah.
Why are you confusing on this?
No, I mean, I know, but what are they? What are the 2 guys? Because he's been saying
They're
it's
revenants.
revenants, but then it says it's maybe whites, maybe, what was the other
Yeah,
one?
I don't.
Zombies?
I mean, if I want to say bad, but like an amateur dungeon master would like, okay, you guys find a chimera. What do?
True.
More elaborated dungeon master would go, you see a lion standing right in front of you, 10 feet tall, but then you see it has a scorpion tail and then a goat's head on its back. So like,
Yeah.
So I'm assuming this GM is actually pretty good and just describe like an undead. So like it's a bit unsure if they're revenants or zombie, So
But that's like
I'd say
the
at this
worst
point-
thing.
I mean, it's and honestly, this is cool because that would be cool for like the one that invests in intelligence. They could like, oh, can I roll intelligence check
That
or a
is
history
true.
or religion check?
Yeah, that's what we would
Oh.
do.
Yeah,
So far,
exactly.
Where the story is heading. First of all, the 28 to 30 points of damage for unarmed strikes is
Per hit.
absurdly
That's
high.
crazy.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the context we have, maybe there's a narrative.
That's true.
to it.
That's what I'm
There's
thinking
probably-
as well. Yeah.
We have to finish what we're reading here,
Yeah.
but it seems like there is a mystery or a plot involving
Well,
these two.
unfortunately, there's not a lot. There's not too much more. So
Alright,
Oh dear.
the
go on.
OP continues. Ultimately, they downed my paladin and continued beating him to death. The whites then crumbled away once I died. I'm not salty that my paladin died to a small child because that's kind of funny, and I'm only slightly salty that we were put into a situation where neither victory nor retreat were really an option. Around 28 points per hit, which means over 100 points of damage being dealt per round, assuming they hit with each attack. It just strikes me as suspicious because in the week before the session, I talked about making backup characters in case Magnus dies. I talked about how they were
Ooh.
tied into the story much more than a Goliath hailing from the spine of the world was. And then the very next session, I'm put into an unwinnable fight and die? It does strike me a little suspect. GM denies that being the case and that the fight was in no way engineered for one outcome or another. And as a veteran GM myself, I'm inclined to believe him. It's not that I don't believe he'd do it, it's that I'd expect him to have some sort of out-of-game conversation with me about it beforehand. But whether or not, I'm happy to replace my character with one of my backups. Nevertheless, it doesn't sit right with me. I do still suspect there was some gaming of a situation going on behind the scenes, but I kind of want people with a fresh set of eyes to look at this and tell me what they think. Thanks in advance. So, what do you guys think?
Okay, I have a opinion to state.
Alright,
Okay,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Opinion away.
Namely, from what I remember, and
Mhm.
people can correct me on this, I think in the
Yeah.
Curse of Strahd, there are specific instances where you're not like expected to die, but you're very likely to die, and dying actually has like a whole thing behind it where, like, if I remember correctly, if you die, you can be brought back by like one of the patrons of Bavaria or whatever the place is called.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
And you can come back as a revenant of some kind, serving some witch mother or something, some whole thing. I didn't look much into it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But death is like a thing there, although the Dungeon Master being like, nah bro, it was completely fine, is not the case. It wasn't fine, it was bullshit.
Yeah. I never watch any Curse of Strahd because I do intend to play it at some point or GM it at some point, so free of spoilers as well. But it does. I do understand like having, because like it could be a revenant, because that's the whole lore about revenant. They want to kill one guy, and every time they die, they reincarnate a new body and keep chasing that guy. And once they kill that guy, only then the revenant can die. It does sound like a revenant here, but man, they are relentless, dude. Like they have the guys are just level 5 and like fucking 100 plus damage per round. That sucks.
I think the main crux of this entire story is there wasn't player consent or any discussion behind of like why this is happening. If I were the player in that situation, I think I would have brought it up with the DM, like, hey dude, could I like ask why?
He did though. He did ask the
did.
GM like is there something wrong here? Why are you chasing me? And the GM said no. That's why I'm a bit iffy here, because this is
Okay.
something that I would sometimes do as well. Like it's a strange situation that makes the player question, but I personally wouldn't do it to a point where the character would die. So yeah.
So actually, one of the comments actually said that to the OP. He said like just outright ask your GM what the deal was, and OP replied, "I did ask. The penultimate paragraph explains the conversation that did take place. There's obviously stuff you can't tell me as a player because it's part of the game, and I don't think from conversations had that this will be the last we see of them, unless killing one of us breaks whatever curse was in play. I suspect it's a curse anyway. And as a GM, I respect that he can't answer all of my questions, so despite the conversation taking place, I still feel like there's no closure on the subject beyond just accepting it happened and focusing on my new character. That's why I'm torn. I know well enough to know I can't and shouldn't dwell on it, and maybe some saltiness is absolutely fine this soon after it happened. There's nothing to say players have to like having their PCs killed off, but for me, I think it's the fact I did go searching for answers afterwards and been left wanting."
I think kudos to this guy, dude. like he's taking it like a champ. Like he understands
Mm.
how a GM works because he said he is a veteran GM himself.
Mm.
So yeah, like kudos how he's handling this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
I
what do you
think
think?
it's very mature for what, like, there's no angry rant. It's just, yeah, could I ask an opinion of someone? Why?
I think it's just like not a a case of how you say improper communication kind of thing. Well, not really
Uh-huh.
improper, but like ineffective communication in which you are not able to say, you don't fully understand what the other person is saying, but you're not saying that you don't understand because you assume that you do, but you don't, and then
I
this
just-
happens.
How
I
long
don't
was
know.
this post made?
How long,
long?
ago?
Yeah.
8 days ago.
Uh,
9
really,
days
eh?
ago. It just
Or maybe-
changed, right?
or no.
Was that me?
Oh yeah. All right.
Oh my god. I think because
That's
like
cool.
time is different, but anyway.
Yeah. I don't know, but okay. This is my 2 cents. I understand why the GM couldn't tell because maybe there's a lore bit or something like that. Like it is a intriguing thing. But I think the mistake the GM made here was one, like they that encounter was way too much. I feel like if you want the player to be defeated, the player would feel better if they got outsmarted rather than just outstatted.
Damaged.
Yeah.
Outstatted. And secondly, if what I'm reading is correctly, they just went off like okay, new character, let's go. No hurrah for the dead character. I feel like there should be some kind of mourning, or the new party want to like investigate more on what the hell's going on. I think that
Yeah.
would help bring some closure to the player itself.
I just hope that the players, the dead Goliath Paladin, gets some closure. Like the party is able to figure out why it happened to
Yeah.
these specific 2 players. I mean, I understand this could be like the start of like a plot point. Like, oh, one of your past party member died. Time to solve the reason why.
Yeah, that would be
Set
cool.
up. But yeah, I feel like this abundance of emotion does come with the territory of dead PC.
Here's a thing. It's a fresh post, and I guess there's no updates on it. But
Yeah.
it's a very real possibility that next session starts, and the whole thing happens where his character's death is actually not his final death, and he
Yeah,
comes
that's
back to
true.
life
That's
and
true.
is
Yeah.
a cool servant to an undead god or something.
Yeah.
So it sucks we can't look at this with
Maybe
oh,
we'll
hindsight.
revisit it. Like we'll go to his
Maybe.
profile and then
Yeah.
refresh until a new
Oh,
post
so
appears.
ring,
Fuck
put the bell on it.
answers.
Put a
Well, it's
notification.
Apocryph761. But yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Guy
they're like-
tells more.
he did say after a few comments, he said, looking through the comments with the knowledge of the last 9 to 10 months playing with this GM, I'm satisfied to say that this isn't a case of asshole GM, but a good GM who made 1 or 2 mistakes, which my character ultimately paid for. I don't begrudge him that. I'm a veteran GM too. It happens to everyone. So
I definitely
talk-
understand the 1 or 2 mistake there.
yeah. Ooh.
1 or 2, right? Really?
Ooh. As in the one mistake that basically changed all of our trajectory.
I will never forgive you for the first Hydra fight. I'm sorry.
or the reality
go.
jump. Unconsented. No, I'm kidding.
There you are.
Oh, great. We made him hop off the tape. We made him hop off the platform.
So, any final comments on this post?
We were left with wanting for closure, but apparently there was closure.
There was closure.
we just didn't read further
Sometimes,
down.
sometimes it's like these things. It's just you need to vent, and then and then people say, okay, actually, this is what you should have done, and like, oh yeah, you know what, actually, I feel a bit better after I vent. I can think a bit more, clearly now. So, yeah, I think that's just it.
Yeah.